But anyway, me and Richard got to be pretty good friends. Not in a homosexual way, that's for sure.
With Survivor 40 Several coming out, I decided to try and convert my friend to my cult. This took the form of making him watch the first 2 episodes of Survivor Borneo in the year 2024. This video is basically a recording of our thoughts. Also, my friend Lisa was there. She likes Survivor. I think this clip from our watch along really sums up the dynamic of the group. Without further ado, let's get into it. I'm joined by local stand-up comic Taylor Ruddle and my friend Lisa, who also likes Survivor. That was weird watching in 2024, wasn't it?
No, it was brilliant. It was amazing. It was perfect.
It kind of
was.
was.
The start of all of our dreams and hopes.
It kind of was perfect. I was too busy being one to really understand the impact Survivor had on the landscape at the time. Taylor, what were you doing in 2000?
The year 2000, I was in primary school, so I'm not really aware of Survivor.
But like, were your parents watching it, or your teachers, anyone talking about it in New Zealand at the time?
I remember commercials for it, but I don't remember anything beyond that.
And Lisa, what were you doing?
Well, I was 20 and I was loving it. I watched it from the very first episode. I thought it was so good. Yeah, I bought into all the hype and I thought it was so cool.
Taylor has never watched Survivor before. I'm going to cut that out, don't worry. Smooth.
No.
There'll be a lot of cuts in this video.
We'll get it in post.
We'll get it in post.
Get it in post.
Taylor has never watched Survivor before, so this is your very first experience watching Survivor. What is your experience with Survivor except for watching it?
I've done more podcasts about Survivor than I have watched episodes of Survivor. And I think, 3 out of 4 of them were with you. So,
yeah,
you've been present for basically every interaction I've ever had with Survivor up until this point.
I will continue to be present for every interaction, even if you don't know that I'm there.
Yeah,
I'll be in the back of your mind. You'll be thinking, "Wow, Henry would love this."
Yeah, that's generally. I thought I have many times throughout the week. In general, to be honest, I'll see something and just think, "Yeah, man, the big man upstairs will will be loving this." So. I don't know. What are things that you guys found weird that I wouldn't know any different? Because you were pointing out stuff that were like, "Oh man, this is so weird," and I'm just like, "It's just a bridge made out of sticks." Like, what kind of stuff were you noticing?
100%. It's Jeff stands on like a little stage at Tribal Council. I can't believe I forgot that happened.
Jeff's got his little sort of stage
like
podium to make sure that
high.
he's not shorter than anyone else. Because it is quite fun in later seasons when Jeff is like eliminating Scott Pollard, and Scott is 7 feet tall and Jeff is a solid 5'10", and he's staring up at him going, "Scott, tribe has spoken." And it's so hard to take seriously, but I'm glad he's not on a podium anymore, because that's even harder to take seriously. Also, the torches. The torches look like rubbish, and I was surprised at how bad they looked compared to what they get nowadays, because you'd think a stick with some fire on the end of it would be pretty seamless to make look good, but everything was so low budget, and it was so charming.
It was very charming. It was all very charming and just lovely. It's like when your kid makes a piece of art. You think it's like the best piece of art ever, and outsiders may disagree, but I found it very cool.
I don't think Taylor or I can relate to that in the slightest.
I've definitely stolen artwork from children before, so
Is that your comedy?
My jokes. No, I had one question actually. The promo for the show, they seem to like really lean on the fact that they're like alone and they're marooned and they've got to survive and everything. Was that kind of the hook of the show in the beginning, and that nothing had been done like that before, where people were like, "Oh my god, they're just going to let them go free"? Because I don't know, nowadays I'm assuming people assume it's pretty safe because they've got a studio, and but back then was the hook of it like we're throwing them out in the jungle with nothing, and
definitely I think it was the first time something like that had been done on American TV, and I remember part of the buzz going around at the start of it. The reason why I watched the first episode, or watched right from the start, was that a friend of mine was like, "Oh my gosh, have you heard about this new TV show? They're going to like kill people on TV." And I was like, well, I don't think that's true. And also that actually didn't make me want to watch. But anyway, he was so hyped for it. And that was why I watched. And that was like, there was articles and everything like, how far will this go? Like, this is unsafe. So people did really, that survival part of it was very real. It's still very real. I think Survivor is very, very difficult. But people just didn't know how far reality television was going to go.
I feel like they didn't even go as far as they have later. Like Borneo, they had a ton of food, it looked like. The water was just in a bucket in the ground. I don't know if they had to boil it, but it didn't seem like they were boiling the water. They won 50 waterproof matches, which I assume is easier to use than a flint and steel. The challenges were extremely simple, and we'll get to those at some point, but it seemed like for the hype of are they going to kill 15 Americans, I certainly didn't feel like anyone was in danger at any point during the show. And I have felt like people were in danger when watching Survivor before, and I did not feel that with these 2 episodes.
They made a big deal of showing how sick, what was her name?
Ramona
got. So they were obviously trying to play that up as like, she might drop dead any second. And didn't they... who was the old fella from the first or the second one? Bebe, who they were trying to get him to take a break because he'd been in the sun for hours. And I think they probably definitely wanted you wondering whether you're going to see someone die or like need a medical evacuation kind of thing. Because like, isn't that kind of the thing with reality TV is people, they like to watch it, but like they really want to see it go wrong.
That's part of the thing I love about Survivor, but not in a dangerous way. Like when I want to see it go wrong, I want to see people stab each other in the back and get really messy and become lifelong enemies because of it. Which is also something I feel like we didn't get that much of here.
What?
Like, they haven't even introduced the concept of alliances by the first 2 episodes. Taylor, do you know what the word alliance means? Or is that because of not hearing Survivor, that's completely escaped your lexicon?
No, I know what the word alliance
Cool.
means.
Just thought I'd check.
My wondering there was like, does it mean anything different? Like, is there a formal agreement in Survivor, or is it just 2 people being like, yeah, we're going to vote for the same person? Is that enough to call it an alliance?
To form an alliance, you must formalize it in a contract. You must. That's why Stacey is there. Stacey is the litigationist.
Exactly.
She enforces the alliance contract between 2 parties at all times.
You need to sign it with a witness, fax it over to your litigator.
No, it is just, I'm gonna vote with you, you're gonna vote with me, and we're not going to not do that.
But in the 2 episodes we've shown, it was like, what 2 people did that, and then there was a third person that was like, yeah, I'll do it, and then didn't do it. So it's like, I would find it hard to trust people at their word, given that there's no consequences.
He's understanding, he's beginning to learn.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what? Someone says, I'll vote for you.
I think we know what you mean,
It's
yeah.
like, prove it.
Yeah, well, see, I think that's where an alliance differs from just saying you will vote with someone. An alliance, I think there's more of an understanding that it might be a long-term arrangement, and that if you're in an alliance with someone and someone else comes up to you and says, oh, we should get rid of that person, sort of like there's like an onus or an expectation that you'll fill that other person in. Whereas I think just what we saw was people voting together.
It also just seemed like they both didn't like that guy and wanted to get rid of him. Like, I don't know, it didn't seem like there was a whole heap of thought put into it. It seemed like they were just like, he's kind of annoying, so let's get rid of him.
But you can vote together and not be an alliance.
Yeah.
They're not mutually exclusive things.
Exactly.
Like if
Yeah.
Lisa and I both dislike you, we can just vote you out. And we can also dislike each other and not vote together in the future. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
not sort of
So Taylor, were you surprised how not like, because you know Henry and I,
Yeah.
and our take on Survivor, I would say, is quite strategic, or
Oh,
strategy
yeah.
focused.
Yeah.
Were you surprised how little strategy there seemed to be in the episodes that we've watched?
Well, okay, so my question is, was there strategy that I wasn't seeing, or like, were they all kind of just making it up as they go?
There was strategy that none of us were seeing if you watch Mark Burnett's,
Yeah.
if you read Mark Burnett's book, but I'm hoping that most people are slightly more normal than me and haven't read the book. And so in general, what you've seen is what you get. I
Yeah.
think.
No, I do think in the early seasons of the show, they weren't the best at getting across the strategy.
Yeah.
So Richard had a strategy, but when you're watching the show, like it's that first episode, you're like, well, why is that guy just like
Yeah.
sitting on a tree?
Sulking on the tree.
Yeah, but like there was a strategic reason behind that, but they didn't like sort of show that.
What was his reason?
Well,
sorry.
Here we go, Lisa. Explain Richard Hatz's strategy for the first 2 episodes without spoiling anything else that happens.
Yeah, that's the issue.
So we'll.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't like get. It's not like don't hold your breath. There's going to be some big
Yeah,
reveal.
yeah.
And like episode 6, he's like, and the reason why I was
Yeah.
sitting on that tree is this. What I'm saying is, it is even at its base, it is a very strategic game.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's reasons that people on the 2 episodes that we watched were doing things that weren't the reasons they outright said. But it's just harder to know that now. But not as much as later seasons. Like some of the people know.
Because there was no meta game at that point. It was all people doing it for the first time,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they wouldn't have known any of the like tropes that would come with Survivor later on, right?
Yeah.
Unless anyone on the show was a big fan of the Swedish television show
Expedition
Robinson
Robinson.
from 1999 and somehow watched it before going on Survivor, but that seems unlikely.
I feel like they would have come out by now.
Yeah. It would have been a big scandal. Richard Hatch had seen Expedition Robinson beforehand. Rudy Bosch had seen Treasure Island before going on the show. They all knew.
They knew what to do.
Well, it doesn't really matter about spoilers because I'm going to watch it eventually. But what was
It
he?
totally matters
does
about
matter.
spoilers.
But what was he trying? What idea was he trying to plant in their head that he's like, was he trying to look like
Oh, no, I'm,
less strong than he was, kind of thing?
no, I'm honest. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
There will be a
that's
big
why.
reveal in episode
Like I think you're
6.
holding out. Oh, come on, Lisa,
No,
you can
no,
tell me.
I
We're all
honestly,
friends
honestly
here.
don't remember.
He's going to
But,
tear off his skin.
But he had a
reveal.
strategy that
Yeah,
okay.
he had a strategy like, and I think because he's a social guy, right?
Yeah.
And so he knows that acting that way is going to sort of turn off people.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why was he doing that? And I don't think it's just because he was clueless.
Yeah.
You know, so probably if we deep dived on like podcasts or whatever, we could probably find out what he was thinking.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like there's some strategy that it's very hard to show on TV, and American Survivor got better at doing that.
I do want to talk about the challenges a little bit because I was deeply upset that there was no puzzle at the end and there was no throwing sandbags onto podiums to ensure that the first half of the challenge did not matter in the slightest. I just think it's really interesting how unique such simple challenges feel and how refreshing it is to watch them nowadays. Like every Survivor challenge right now is so almost over-engineered, and they've managed to capture just grab your boat and run to the guy and light some stuff on fire, and whoever does it the fastest wins. And I want that to come back. I want more light stuff on fire as fast as you can, and then you win, but not at the final 4 in Tribal Council to guarantee your spot in the final 3.
Yeah, I do like that simplicity, but the problem is it's not like you just need one small thing to go wrong. Like it's not complex enough to sort of protect against that runaway or almost accidental. Like to win a very complicated challenge, I think you have to do well at a lot of elements.
Yeah.
Whereas to do well at that one, you just basically had to have not someone on your tribe who tripped over.
Yeah, that's true.
There wasn't much sort of skill involved.
How often did they do flashbacks in normal Survivor nowadays? Because it's not very often, but I feel like every 5 minutes in Borneo, they just like, remember last episode, Sonia fell over and that's why they lost. So this episode, Taji wants to win. Like because it's the first season, they're trying very hard to make sure you know what's going on. They're not really trusting the audience to remember anything, which I almost feel like I need in Survivor more often now because I'm like, fuck, does he have an idol or does he have an extra vote or a vote steal?
Was he on the team that didn't lose their votes? Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
God, did he protect his vote and therefore the other person who risked their vote gained an extra vote? Or did they both risk their vote and therefore no one can vote and Sari goes home instead?
No, why would you bring that up? Why would you bring that up, Henry? That's it. I'm out of here.
This is going home.
Feels like we've touched a nerve there. I don't quite understand why, but
Does that make you sad to remember?
You'll understand one day. You'll understand one day, Taylor. It makes
enough.
me incredibly sad, and it should make you sad too. I don't want to tell you how to feel, but you fucking feel sad about it, Henry.
You have a lot of confidence in Taylor watching 34 seasons of Survivor. I mean, I'm willing to make it happen. I'm willing to come here every Monday for the next.
Well, I'm down. Yeah, amazing.
All right, cool.
if you can
Every
point
Monday.
with live stream,
a new weekly video.
live stream our
2 videos a
reactions.
week now.
Each one's 8 hours.
What I did.
I'm making a new channel, Henry Hickman Slamtown. Go subscribe to it.
I wanted to say something about so you said that they weren't really trusting the audience to remember what happened. I think a big part of it was that the audience was like growing and growing and growing, and we were talking about this when we were watching. I wonder how much editing they were doing. Like, did they get it all in the can and then just like send it off to the network and then just put it on, or as more and more people like came on board and were misunderstanding the concept and things, did they edit in those extended introductions and things, or did they know right from the start, oh, this is a very random thing we are doing, it's a reality show, we're going to have to make sure that every week at the start we're like, hey, this is all the things that happen, like here's your 5 minutes of catch up. Like, I'd be really interested to know that. I've read that Mark Burnett book too, and I can't remember much about that sort of I don't think he really talked too much about the post-production, but maybe he did.
Whenever I think about Survivor nowadays, I think about the fact that for every contestant they have 24 hours of camera footage, and so multiplying that for like one episode with 10 people, that's 240 hours of footage per day. 3 days is 720 hours of footage that they cut down into a 40-minute package. But I almost wonder if for Borneo they just had like some guy named Dave trying to follow enough people around to get enough footage to capture it. I wonder to what extent did they have enough people for the job? Because that could be a big part of why things felt... If they were doing a bunch of flashbacks because they just didn't have any footage that they could be bothered using, that would be another reason.
You said that there's 10 hours, or you said 24 hours of footage for each one person. Is that Survivor now? They have a camera person for each person in the show?
Pretty close.
Yeah,
Wow.
not exactly, but like pretty much.
The Walkers, I guess, after 34 seasons or whatever it was, they've...
Oh, no, that was back in 2017.
Oh, that was a while ago. Okay.
We're at 40 several now.
Several seasons later.
You say 40 several?
I always say 40 several. That's the name of the season.
Several means 7. It's a part of the word.
Well, the question I had was, if you listen to them talk about other reality TV shows, like, I think the one I was listening to recently was the first, Jackass. Do we consider Jackass reality TV?
There's a
Long pause.
Reality TV is a big umbrella,
Do we
and
consider-
it's split into many different types.
Yeah.
Frankly, do we consider Survivor reality TV? Or is it a game show? Or is it a separate... is it just a way of life? You know?
Way of
it
life. Way of life.
Well, so I'll just keep talking then. So Jackass, when they were making the first season, no one knew who they were, obviously, and so they were kind of just filming it as they went, and then when they released it, that's when they started getting recognized in public. And I think, from what I've heard, there's a certain magic to the first season of reality shows where it's all really guerrilla, and you don't know whether it's going to pop off or not. And so, like, I think a lot of the stuff, like the camera thing and footage, is them just like throwing muck at the wall and seeing what sticks, and they probably don't even know whether it's gonna, like, you could probably ask that question, like, why are they showing so much at the start to the producers, and they probably would just go, we just thought people wanted to know. You know what I mean?
No, Mark Burnett would never be so flippant. He
Oh,
would have
okay.
a very carefully thought out idea.
It would have a very carefully thought out idea, and it would be complete bullshit. Like he would talk about his artistic vision, and it would be all a lie. Is my opinion. I love Mark Burnett, but he talks so much nonsense in his book that it is the funniest thing to me.
Very inspirational volume, Henry. I read Mark Burnett's Survivor book the same way Dirk read his Bible in these episodes we just watched. I'm trembling.
You're holding mass on Sundays. So what was your question to me? Did I have a favorite challenge?
Did you have a favorite
So we
challenge?
watched two challenges, the eating the bugs one, and then the carrying a big thing that was on fire and lighting sticks on fire. What was that one called?
Quest for Fire.
Quest for
Quest for
Fire.
Fire.
It's
How
a
dare you.
classic.
I have to say,
It's repeated so much.
yeah, that one was probably more exciting. But I think there's a certain early 2000s sort of Survivor fear factor, nostalgia, and watching people eat bugs and standard definition on TV. What is that called? 3-4 or whatever?
4-3. Yeah,
4-3, yeah.
it was.
Um,
Well, Lisa, you mentioned a really great point while we were watching about the terrible quality of the footage and of the lighting and sort of the low budget nature of everything, making you enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah, I think especially the scenes when they're on the beach and it's like early in the morning or late at night, like that really natural, like low tech lighting with the very like not great so quality cameras that we're used to, it looks way more like it looks like in real life. Like when you watch Survivor now, like it's beautiful, I love it, but it's like a movie. And I've actually heard people say who have been on American Survivor that it like doesn't seem, it looks so different when they're there that it almost like doesn't seem real. But if you were in there, if you were watching that Borneo and you were on that, I imagine that looks exactly what it looks like. And I think you sort of lose something, and it's really hard to capture exactly what it's like to be there. And that sort of lower quality footage, I think actually captures it better than it's captured today.
I am going to have to put up a clip of the Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers Tribal Council because it's so yellow. And I need to know, is it yellow because the lighting went wrong? Is it yellow because that's just the way they built the set? Is it yellow because they secretly filmed it in Breaking Bad's Mexico? I need to know. And then I'll compare it to Borneo, where things just look normal. Things just look fine. Although one thing is that they're definitely still finding their footing, and it's quite fun hearing iconic phrases and going, that's where it started. Because I don't think he said, I'll go tally the votes in the first episode. Maybe not even the second episode.
It was the
He said
second.
it in the second,
He says it
yeah.
in the second, and then I pop off and go, yes, he finally said I'll go tally the votes.
I'll go tally the votes.
But he has yet to say, there's a few things he's yet to say, and I can't remember what they are.
He didn't say come on in.
He didn't say come on in. He hasn't said dig deep yet. He hasn't said if anyone has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it now would be the time to do so.
So follow-up question actually, the Tribal Council. You said this one was the first two were very short. What do they look like now? Because there wasn't a lot of talking, and then they all went and voted, and it seemed like they just kind of sat there in silence. What can I expect to see from a later season Tribal Council?
Now they take like in real time. So if you're there, they take a very long time, hours. And the host is really using that time to try and get people to try and like almost like force people into saying things that they want to see them say on camera. Things that they would never really want to say, but the host will really press and press and press and will ask questions in quite a leading way. And it's not okay to not just answer. Like you can't really say like, oh, Taylor, I hear you're going to vote out Henry. But, I don't want to talk about it. Like,
Don't know where you heard that.
yeah, like they'll really like press and press and press. I think in modern Survivor, navigating the Tribal Council, I think would be quite difficult in a way that it certainly wasn't even right up to, I don't even know, like, mid sort of 15s or whatever in US Survivor.
They did have one line that Jeff said where he talked about, Richard, how are you getting along with people who are clearly just so different to you, or something to that effect. And it felt like they already had that thing where Jeff knows what's happening back at camp. And so he's prepared his questions beforehand to try and feed into the sort of things that are annoying people.
Yeah. Well, Mark Burnett does say that in his book.
Read the book. It's a good book.
Read
What's the book called
everyone.
for me who
It's
doesn't?
called Survivor the Ultimate Game. I have a copy and I will not lend it to you.
Same.
You will have to buy your own.
Oh, good.
That's your Christmas present from me, just so you know.
From Santa to me. So then, do you think that's a skill that Jeff learnt over the years, is how to nag people and how to push their buttons and get them into saying the salacious things on camera? So like maybe, wow, I'm sure he would have loved for them to do it in season 1, but do you gradually see him getting more and more better at button pushing, I guess is the word there?
He definitely inserts himself into the... It's funny. He inserts himself into the narrative more because he is like asking those questions and really sort of directing things. But he also inserts himself into the narrative less because Taylor and I were both super surprised to see him turn up at the tree mail. In Modern Survivor, he's at the challenges, he's at Tribal Council. If someone has to get medevaced, he turns up. Like that is all. But in earlier seasons of Survivor, he's like he comes on some rewards. He just sort of turns up to, shoot the breeze.
Well, if you watch Fear Factor, the early Fear Factor, it has the same feeling of like they don't really know what to do with the host, because in some challenges, Joe would just be there talking to the contestants like in between. But I think later on
It's an additional challenge.
they had him like a bit separate from them. And like in the early ones, it's like all of them just standing along and him next to them, and he'll just be like, "Oh, this is crazy, huh?" and all this kind of thing. And like, I think, yeah, it's the thing when the longer a reality show goes on, the host is going to get better at doing things. So we're seeing Jeff in his rawest form in season 1, aren't we?
If season 1 were filmed with season 47 Jeff, when Sonya fell over, Jeff would go, an absolute disaster for the Todzi tribe. Oh my, Sonya, you gotta dig deep right now. It is all on the line. It's all coming down to this. They're making a comeback. And he just sort of stood there and just sort of looked at them for a bit, sort of stared at them. And then the challenge was over and he said, yep, good job, guys.
Would it be so hard to know what to do though? Like, I can't even imagine. Like, think about the social anxiety you have, like just doing
always
things.
thinking about it.
Think about the social anxiety you have doing things that everyone can socially just knows what to do. Catching a bus, going to the supermarket checkout. And then imagine you're doing this like entirely new, even if you're a performer, I can imagine. It was very, yeah. So I love what they did. I think it's really good.
What was Jeff's background before being the host of this?
Great question. I don't know too well.
He was like an actor and a host of other things.
Ah, yep. So he'd sort of been, this was his big
It's like
break
a
kind of thing.
presenter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
he was a
gotcha.
presenter.
Yeah.
Taylor, so what were you thinking would happen in those first couple of tribal councils? Like, were you expecting people to just sort of rock up? Like, what do you think you would have done if you were?
So if I had to vote somebody out, and you have, what is it? It's several hours leading up to the actual bit where you write the votes on the bit of
Well,
paper.
it was a whole day actually, because the challenge was at night, and then
Yeah.
the next day they got a tree mail saying they had to go. Do you think you would be sort of, if you were sort of thinking it wasn't you, if you were thinking you weren't one of the people who was sort of aggravating everyone? It's
Yeah.
a big if, but
Big
imagine you weren't. Do you think you would have been thinking about getting people together, or you would have just like voted however, or?
I reckon. Man, so this is someone who has no experience of how to play the game.
Yeah, like everyone who, yeah.
So like early on, I reckon you just want to remind everyone else how screwed they would be without you.
You mean like BB did very successfully?
No, but he was annoying them. I wouldn't be as annoying as BB off the bat. Like he was very
Of course,
clearly
of
grinding.
course.
Of
Yeah.
course, you'd just be reminding everyone how useful you are the whole time.
But less annoying.
Well, no, you wouldn't do it overtly, but you'd want to like drop some hints, like, oh, look, she's limping a little bit. Let's see, that's what's that all about? Like just put the idea in the head. Don't.
You'd be like, man, I built this shelter all by myself. I sure hope no one votes me out, because then we wouldn't have the shelter would be way worse. That'd suck. You wouldn't do that to me, would you?
Yeah.
So do you think physical strength would be something that you would like rally around in the first
No,
stages?
well, not me personally. I would be pretty useless in challenges, I think. But like, here's my prediction. This may be a question you're going to ask later, but here's my prediction: is like I think of the first 2 episodes, all the quiet ones, it's going to be one of them who wins, because the first 2 episodes, they're obviously trying to create drama and draw people in. And so, like, you have the 2 old guys. Was it Rudy's the army guy or the Marines guy, and then BB's the, like, sort of grandpa who washes his shirt in the cooking pots and hassles people to get their shelter built. Like,
I love him so much.
they made the mistake of being too like noticeable. I think. I reckon it'll be like the girl with the short hair,
Colleen?
yeah, like it'll be someone like that who has just been under the radar and like has not drawn a target on their back yet. So my feeling is, if you're going to play smart, is like you don't want them to even really notice you in the first few rounds.
So that's your prediction of what's going to happen. Were you surprised by anything that happened? Was there anything that you went, what?
In the tribal councils,
Just in the entire show?
Just at all, yeah.
Nah, it was like, I mean, they set it up so that like they're obviously feeding you like, oh, look how sick Ramona.
Yep.
Oh, look how sick Ramona is. Look how annoying BB is. It's going to be one of these 2. And then like, it was 3 votes each or whatever it was. And then what was the previous day? They showed, it was the woman who fell over and got injured, right?
Sonia.
Sonia.
Yeah. Did she have a close rival that was getting voted? I don't think so.
Not a rival, but they had Rudy got pretty close
Yeah,
to being voted
it
out.
was Sue was the swing vote
that's
there.
right. Yeah, so like, I wouldn't say it was surprising. If it had been anyone who wasn't those 4 that had been signposted, I would have been pretty surprised. So I think, but that kind of means the editors are doing their job well, doesn't it?
I think there is a balance, because one of my least favorite things in Survivor is when I'm watching an episode and I'm like, okay, it's going to be one of these 2. And then it's not, and so I'm like blindsided, and I don't mind that. But then when I go back and watch the episode again, like a normal person does when they're watching Survivor,
Totally.
and you still don't get it after your second watch through, and so then you go back and watch it a 3rd time, after 3, and then you go back and watch it a fourth time, and then you still don't get it, that's when I'm like, okay.
What do you mean by don't get it? You don't understand why they were voted out?
Yeah, the editors do a poor job of explaining
okay,
the
yeah.
reason. There's a few key ones in my head, but I'm not going to say them because, as we all know, Taylor is going to make it through
About
Survivor.
to watch, yeah, including international seasons. So we can't even bring up Australia examples. It happens very rarely, though. So do you think, Taylor, that you picked up enough about Survivor just through cultural osmosis that there wasn't much in what we watched tonight that you were like?
100%. I didn't know they threw them off the boat and had to swim to the island. I thought they would drop them off on the island, but other than that, no. The thing on the sticks, putting the fire out, that was like, I don't know, that's in the zeitgeist. Tribe has spoken. Did he say that?
He did.
Yeah, that's a zeitgeist thing. Win a challenge to do immunity or get a prize. Like, somehow...
What do immunity or get a prize?
You know what I mean?
prize.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The challenge that I asked whether it was combined or whatever, you gave me a response, and then like 10 seconds later they explained it on the screen.
I like Jeff sometimes called them competitions instead of challenges, and I'm sitting there going, that's not quite right, Jeff. Were there any 2000s-isms that had you being like, wow, this was definitely made in 2000?
Well, Rudy was very like, he wasn't really homophobic, but it seemed like he was questioning a lot of his beliefs, maybe, based on meeting Richard. You said that Sonia was married to a woman, and then I didn't pick up that Jeff was gay. And no, what is his name? Sorry,
Richard.
Richard was gay until like they started talking about it, or you two started talking about it. So like, yeah, I didn't realize it was going to be a plot point until they were all like, "Oh, you better not tell Rudy about that." And he's like throwing the knife into the piece of wood on the beach.
That's some sick knife skills, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
The editors really wanted to make it seem like that was going to be a problem, but then it just cut straight to him being like, "He's all right. He's a little fat, but he's all right," or whatever he said about him.
He's
Yeah.
fat, but he's good.
He's fat, but he's good.
They were dropping the word queer quite a bit, I think, which I don't know if that flies today.
You were around in 2000. How was it?
Yeah, so even in the year 2000 when I was watching that, I was going, oh, no, that's...
You're talking about Rudy, right? Not Richard. Okay, cool.
Or the whole discussion around it. And I really felt for Richard because no one else has to go out there and start like, oh, hey, everyone, just so you know, here's some stuff about my personal life. But he has this sort of thing. And then when people find out about it, it's like a point of discussion. And oh, yeah, I remember even at the time, me and my friends were like, oh, this is a bit strange.
They were sitting around the campfire eating like bananas or something, talking about it, weren't they? And then, yeah, it just reminds, like, you have that older relative who they'll make a point of, oh, so-and-so's son or daughter is gay or whatever, and then they have to give you their opinion in it, but also say like it's not a problem, but they also they feel like they have to tell you like their whole opinion, and you're like, okay, doesn't need to be a big deal. You can just say it and we can move on. It doesn't require a discussion. You know what I mean? But again, it was what, 20 years ago?
24
years ago. So times have changed.
Thank gosh.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I do want to touch on the weird fact that the torts when Sonia got voted out was like all the way down here, and then when BB got voted out, they put it all the way up here. So you could definitely tell they were making it up on the fly. They were playing with it as they went. They were like, we'll try this. Let's see if that works. We didn't.
They were iterating.
Good computer science word.
Has it ever happened where he tries to put the thing out and it doesn't go?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has.
Do they get to stay on the island?
They should. They should.
He just
We'll
grabs
talk
his
about that
thing
later.
and runs off into the jungle. Oh, what about the sad shot of BB walking into the jungle? Then can you pop that up on the screen now?
Yep. BB standing in the middle distance, almost like he doesn't know where to go.
Yeah,
He's like
exactly.
reached the end of the path and he's just like,
What now?
But you'll have a good one of those later on.
Nice.
We'll definitely touch on this next time.
I look forward to it. Well, I don't know who's going to win, but I know it's definitely not going to be any of the loud ones. I reckon it'll be like one of the ones who we haven't heard much from yet, because they had to establish some heels early on. Yeah, like you say, if you want to be like, you want to go under the radar early on, it'll be one of the ones that we haven't even noticed is there. Like one of the ones whose names I don't even remember.
This is a good edit question. So from the edit, because you were asking, because you've heard about the winners edit
Yeah,
from
They
us.
never show them lying down.
I feel like you've taken what I say quite literally. I'm not saying that any sense of horizontality is a red flag.
Okay.
As soon as someone approaches beyond 45 degrees,
Oh,
you're like, oh my God, he's
done. He's out.
done.
He's out of the race.
Okay, but based on the edit,
Yeah.
so based on the edit, who are you ruling out? Who do you think like they just can't win because
I
of the
don't
way they've
reckon
been
it's
shown
gonna-
so far?
I don't reckon it's going to be military grandpa. What is he again?
Rudy.
Rudy. I feel like he's too loud and he draws too much attention to himself. I reckon he'll probably go far because he's like good at survival and he knows he's pretty fit. They showed him doing a bunch of push-ups and he was pretty jacked. So like
Legend.
they'll probably keep him around. But I reckon it's probably going to be a thing where they have to be like, can we put up with him for another tribal count? Like, you know, can we deal with him for like another week and that? Either that or maybe they'll have like some heartwarming story with him and was it Mike? The lady
Rich?
called Richard, yeah.
Richard?
Where they become like bros and maybe he mellows a bit. That would be cool. I reckon Richard might, because they gave him I don't know, like, do they give, with the winners edit, do they show the winners at all in the beginning? Like, because surely they'd want you to kind of like follow them throughout
We'll have
the
to
season.
find out.
Yeah.
Winners edit isn't really a thing at this stage, I
True,
would say.
true.
So forget everything you've apparently memorized from
Okay.
Henry's video on the subject.
Damn it. Hours of study wasted.
I don't even have a video on the subject yet, but there will be links to the 3 podcasts I did with Taylor where he said, can you talk about Survivor for 40 minutes? And I said no, and then talked about Survivor for 3.5 hours.
So then I reckon the lady who like smashed those bugs back real quick, she seems like she has a like I'm not screwing aboutness to her that like I don't think she's made any big like drama or has like been in anything. So like
Do you mean Gretchen?
possibly the one who ate 2 bugs at once and won that challenge for the
Stacey.
team. Stacey, I reckon maybe because like she's been relatively under the radar, but she's been like doing stuff. Who else could it be? Those are the only ones that have really caught my attention.
There's no one on Pagong, which I find interesting. No one on the Yellow Tribe.
Remind me of who was on that tribe.
We got Greg, we got Ramona, Jervis, the guy who was slapping his head at the bug.
Maybe Jervis. He's pretty athletic. He seemed like he was an affable guy, so maybe he could go far.
It was BB.
No, I reckon BB's gone. Like I reckon. No, wait, BB is gone.
Yeah, BB
Yeah,
is
yeah. If not that episode, I was
last
like, he ain't gonna last much longer.
Gretchen, the lady who was like the one who's like Baby's friend.
Yeah, maybe she's been like up and after it. She's been doing stuff, and she's been getting heckled by him. So like, without him dragging her down, she might be like at full power now.
Colleen, who's sort of the short-haired girl.
Maybe.
Yeah, that was his prediction for the winner, I think.
No, I don't. I didn't say her. I just said it was one of those ones that like has been kind of laying low in the first few episodes.
All right, well, in that case, name to the participant right now. We don't have participant, we don't have pens. I did not prepare for this at all. Who is your prediction? Go.
I reckon
One word.
bug eating lady. What is she called?
Stacey.
Stacey. Yeah, I reckon
Stacey.
Stacey's got
Cool.
it.
Okay. And if you were on, who would you vote out next?
Which tribe am I on?
Either.
Either.
Well, because I've had you guys telling me about how to do it, so I'd be voting out one of the quiet ones. I would let the dummies like BB in that, like, yeah, you can stick around as long as you want, bud. Like, you know what I mean? You want to get rid of the people that don't seem like a threat, because they obviously know not to appear like a threat, because they are a threat.
And just to close out, are you excited for the next 12 episodes that we're going to watch?
Yeah, I'll finish the season for sure.
And then the next season. And then we've got, look, Survivor 47 starts on September the 18th. It's currently September the 2nd.
So if I knuckle down
If
now,
you knuckle down now,
catch
we've
up.
got 16 days. 16 days, 47 seasons, 1 Horsetown.
Nice. Was that a question or was that just?
I think it was more of a proposal. Will you watch every season?
Oh yeah, I don't know about every season.
In the
but, like,
next 2 weeks.
I will watch some more Survivor. That I can say confidently.
Hey.
Yeah.
And that's the review so far. We're working on watching the rest of the show, and if you're interested, we'll post our full season thoughts later on. But what did you think? When did you start watching Survivor? I personally started at South Pacific, and look at me now. Also be sure to check out Taylor, he's a stand-up comic and his stuff is in the description, including Survivor podcasts. Until next time, I've been Henry Hickman Survivor, and I'll see you at the Borneo finale.